Hey guys, and welcome back to Peak Performance Training for Tennis. My name is Idris Smith, the High Performance Director of Tennis at Wheaton Sports Center. And again, we're joined by the wonderful Linda LeClaire. Linda, thank you for being here with me again.
I'm happy to be here.
All right.
And I'm excited about this topic.
Oh, you said some things that were sort of, they were like beginning to really make me think about, the way that I approach, just for me personally, um, me running. I like biking, I like walking, and I do like playing tennis, and I love playing, some singles as long as it's not like, for 2 hours, but I like hitting with my sons, and um, so you were talking about our energy and how we get stuck or scattered, or flowing freely. And in our last segment, we were talking about, you know, the aspect of energy and how we get stuck. I wanted you to,
Yeah,
take
we
some
were
time
talking,
and go over that again.
yeah, we got into the subconscious and the conscious mind. But I think I need to back up because I
Yep.
haven't emphasized this enough, is that our thoughts are our mind's energy. So our thoughts are creative. What a lot of people still think is that our thoughts just come from nowhere, or that we have no control over our thoughts, or that they really don't mean that much. Where actually it's our thoughts that are sending messages to our body all the time. And our body is listening, our energy system is listening and responding to what we think and the thoughts that we hold on to, that we give attention to. So thoughts become things.
Mm.
Okay, and once you really get that what you are thinking is creating your life, then you start observing your thoughts a little bit more, and you start realizing and even feeling it in your energy. When you're thinking a thought that weakens your energy, you feel it.
Mm.
And so you want to throw that one out, and you replace it immediately. And you notice how good you feel when your thoughts are empowering you and strengthening you. So with that in mind, I want to talk a little bit about coaches, and it applies to players as well. But for coaches, the words they use with their players are so important,
Mm.
because the player, okay, so the player's in a position where they're hearing from the coach, who is the authority, and they're taking it in as truth, what they say. So if a coach says something that is limiting the player, that's when problems come in.
Mm.
Okay, so for instance, you call a player lazy. Well, subconsciously, the player is taking that in, I'm lazy, and then responding to I'm lazy, rather than teaching the player how to do something. I'm thinking of a player I had several years ago who was at an academy, and I asked him one day, I said, "Are you the fastest player at the academy?" Which um, it's kind of a subjective question. And I would have thought, knowing how motivated he is and how hard he works, that he would have said, "Yeah, I am." And oh, no, I started out with, "Are you the hardest worker at the academy?" That was it. And he said, "No." And I was like, "You are? Why not? Why would you not be the hardest worker?" Because he had dreams, and he had never really thought about it. And that led to also that he didn't think he was very fast. Well, all we had to do was to change his self-image to, "I'm not the hardest worker here," to being, "I am the hardest worker here. I work harder than everybody else here," which enabled him, then he's sending that message to his body. So when he's out training, he's actually 100% into the training, and he's putting everything he has into it. And he did become the hardest worker at that academy. And it also improved his speed then, because it went by working harder. Then he was running. He was, because he was thinking of himself as somebody who worked harder. And we included then, that means that you're faster out there because you're going for every ball. Okay. And his dream when he started working with me was definitely wanted to play college tennis, but it wasn't, he didn't think he could play at a very high level. And which was surprising to me, because I knew from talking to his coaches that he was actually a really good player and could play at a higher level. And once we started changing his image about his work ethic, about how hard he worked and how fast he was, he just skyrocketed. And he ended up getting a scholarship to one of the top 10 schools in the nation, which was totally out of his thinking when we first started. So there's just so many examples of coaches saying good things, where truth, this isn't just saying something to say something good. It has to be sincere. It has to be something really good. And that's where the creativity and caring that a coach has, that they care enough to observe and catch those good things that the players are doing. And then they comment on them, and the player takes that in and then wants to do more of that. It's really hard to do more of what we're criticized for, or told that, we're not doing something very well.
Well, can you say that one more time? It's hard to do.
We're not motivated by criticism. We're motivated by support, by encouragement. There are some players that say, this coach was so hard on me that, I didn't like it then, but it really helped me. But I think that they're not really getting at what the coach was doing that was helping them. We're getting the wrong impression. It was like we have to be some coaches are almost abusive in the way they treat athletes.
Yeah.
And when you understand that you're really talking to them and sending messages to them that they're picking up on, and that's what they're going to respond to. And they will respond much better when they're coming from love, which is the support and encouragement part, rather than from fear. Because ultimately fear is something that contracts us. We don't grow when we're in fear. We grow when we're coming from love in our lives. And how it affects our whole system, our immune system, our nervous system, all of that is getting the message from us through our thoughts and our beliefs. Okay, does anything come up when I say that to you? Anything you think about?
Just to sort of go back a little bit, do you think some kids are then maybe they end up getting conditioned by that coach who's a little more maybe a little bit abusive, and they're much tougher on them, I guess. Like sometimes I've come across kids that have worked with someone else before, and the parent or the kid would say, oh yeah, this guy was really, really tough on me. And I went, yeah, but your skill set is not at a level that would allow you to actually transition to being able to play at a much higher level. So, I understood that they had challenges from, in their work ethic, challenges in their attitude, stuff like that. And, they wanted someone to, I don't know if they really understood that they didn't really need someone to be harder on them, but they needed to be challenged a different way. And they wanted that tough coach,
It's definitely harder to coach at that higher conscious level, that coaching from love, where you have to be honest and the honesty with the player is what is helpful.
Mm,
They're doing something that's hurting them, and you're able to address it with them. But you don't have to address it from anger or
mm,
frustration, which is a form of coming from fear, because you're whatever the fear is. We don't need to get into that, but uh, it's a different feeling they get. And you hear stories of, kids are telling us stories all the time, how a coach cared about them, and then they have all these successes after that. I know one player I had, a coach told her that uh, speed was something that couldn't be improved. And yeah.
you see him on. Okay.
Okay. So meaning that you're as fast as you are. Some people are really fast, some people aren't. You can't improve that. That was what she was told by a coach. And when she told me that, I was like, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. And you can definitely get faster and faster. You have no idea how fast you can be.
Right.
And speed, for the most part, is a mindset. Okay. Yes, you have to be in shape. I mean, if you're not in shape, it's going to be hard to run fast for very long.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm the being able to get faster and faster and improve.
Mm-hmm.
And so we worked on that, and we had her use visualization and seeing her get faster and faster. And really, she started out on the team the slowest player, and ended up the fastest player on the team. And
Mm,
everybody was really, I mean, these were all Americans and top players in the country. And so, it was the bar was high. And it just was because of her changing her mindset about being fast.
right. Got it.
Uh,
It's sort of interesting too, because when you're talking about that, I sort of look back in my past to some of the teams that I've coached, and primarily, a lot of pros, teaching professionals in the country. That we usually teach, like women's travel team or women's Alta in Atlanta, and Iola down in Florida. I mean, I've taught in a few different states where some of our ladies that are playing have gotten a little bit older, and maybe they've gotten a little more out of shape. Even some of our guys as well, where they've, we don't move as well as we did. So listening to what you were talking about before about how, you had to personally change your mindset about the
mhm.
running. For some of our adult players out there, what's a real good, like, where should they start in terms of trying to reshape their mindset? This, because some of them, they struggle in terms of being competitive, and um, I think sometimes we get stuck and not actually go back to trying to be in a little bit better shape to compete a little bit better. And um, where would you start with, let's say I put an adult in front of you, Linda, and, say, hey, listen, this is, such and such. And, she's having some, one of her biggest challenges is moving on a court where, and even though sometimes they might not admit it, where would you sort of start with, an adult player like that?
Okay. First of all, I'm assuming they don't have any injuries, because obviously that's a different story.
Yeah.
If somebody has an injury, then they have to take care of that first. But if they're healthy, but their belief is they're getting older, so they can't move as well on the court.
Hmm.
Okay. Is I think taking them slowly to the place where you can get that ball. Just letting them know that they can get to shots, and so you're encouraging them. One thing that happens with me when I'm playing, if I'm playing doubles, for instance, with three other women and we're all around the same age, that I'm the one running around the court. and they're not running much, okay?
Mm.
And that's a great advantage for me, obviously. But what I notice is the longer they're playing with me, the faster they start moving. They start moving and running for shots that before they either just left it go and didn't even try, or they started to go for it and then stopped. Where if they had just kept going, they would have gotten it.
Mm.
Okay. But because I'm not saying to them, watch me or anything like that, but they're seeing it and subconsciously they're picking up information from watching me do it. Okay.
Right.
And so then they automatically just start moving better. Sometimes very frustrating for me because all of a sudden my opponents are moving faster. And I know what is happening. And the same with my husband and partner, Dr. Bryce Young. We're out in the court and he hasn't been moving real well when we first started out. And I kept telling him, you got to move your feet. You got to, you're so fast if you just moved your feet, you know? And at first he's a doubles player and he wasn't into singles as much as I was. But I kept, running and he was seeing that. And pretty soon I noticed he was starting to run more and go for shots that he hadn't at first. And I kept telling him that singles is going to help your doubles. This is going to really add to your doubles game. And so he was even more motivated. And now, I mean, he's running over there. We were playing doubles with a friend of his and his daughter. And his friend said, you're really moving well. And he was surprised he was getting to shots that he hadn't been, getting to earlier. So the role modeling is amazing, is helpful. So you, by the way, would have to have that mindset, so that, and that belief, because if you have a limiting belief, it's pretty hard to teach somebody else. If you believe that running is painful and not a good thing, it's going to be hard for you to tell somebody else to run and them pick it up as an honest statement from you. Right. If you have that. And energetically, they're picking up on your fear of running or your limitation on running. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's why that's why this is so exciting and great for coaches, because you work on yourself and you automatically will become a better coach. Right. Because if you're ridding yourself, if you're changing limiting beliefs, that opens up more creativity for you, more, you're getting better ideas, your coaching comes from a higher level of consciousness. Right. So you hardly have to work on anything with the coaching, because that'll just come naturally once you start working on yourself and changing these beliefs that are actually holding you back. It is, I think, people will, I hope, get from this a desire to reflect and, well, what's holding me back? What have I been struggling with? And is that one of my beliefs, or is that really an absolute truth? Very few things are absolute truth. Most things are beliefs, and beliefs are simply things that we have given power to, things that we've decided to believe. And others are those beliefs that we had that we got when we were younger, and we don't even know how we got them. Like for parents, and you being a parent, and me now being a grandparent, talking to our children and what we say to them is so important. One of the things with my kids that I would do at night was, when we're saying goodnight, and I would rub their backs, like my son, I'd rub his back and talk about the day. And I'd bring up things that I thought he did really, that I was proud of him, or I thought, wow, that was really great when you did this or that. Or I'd say things to him about what a good, whatever it is, And so he's kind of going to sleep and he's listening, but it's in that more, that quiet mind. So he's actually taking everything in. He doesn't need to respond. And I'm rubbing his back, which of course everybody loves having their back rubbed. So
Sure.
he wants me to keep talking, so I'll keep rubbing his back. And he's taking all these things in. And I can see today, you know, he's an adult today, I can see things that I had been saying to him, how they've manifested in his life today. It's just, it's so important what we as parents and coaches are saying to our kids, because they're taking it in without a filter usually. They're not saying, well, that's not true. They're just taking it in. And if they heard that when they were 7 years or even younger, it was really effective because they have no filter then. They're not capable of deciding whether this is true or not. They just take it in as absolute truth.
Got it. I don't even know where to begin with that, Linda. Actually, a question that I did have for you was, you know, there's a lot of pro players, aspiring pro players that are out right now, you know, in the ranking area of, like, you know, 100 and down, 100 to 500, 100 to 600. And this is a great opportunity for those types of players to work on this aspect of their game. You know, what's sort of holding them back? What advice would you have for that group? You know, that group 100 to 1. I mean, they're getting it, you know, but it's that group. So it sort of seems like that group from like maybe 80 or 90 down that, you know, they're trying to get their breakthrough, you know, and this seems like it really works on that.
It is this working on what's holding you back, those kind of beliefs, and understanding how powerful your thoughts are and what you're creating. But that's why people work with Bryce Young and myself, is on these kind of issues. And I mean, to me, it's really fun. You know, figuring out what's holding a person back. Like sometimes I ask a player, how high do you want to go? Okay, a professional player, how high do you want to go? And they might say, about 50. And I'm like, 50. I mean, to me, if a player wants to go to about 50, that gives me a lot of information about where they are and their self-image. Because it's a lot different if you're saying, well, I want to be number one in the world. Not, you know, not just throwing it out there, but really meaning it. I want to be the best at this, is what they're, you know, is literally what they're saying.
Yeah.
So, and what would hold you back from that would be a question I ask. Or if I ask 50, then why do you think only 50? Why do you think you can't go any higher? Because if that's how high they think they can go, that's how high they'll go. They won't, it's really hard go beyond what our beliefs are. We can, for a short period of time, we might be able to extend in, you know, a tournament, our belief that we can only go so far to, I can do this, I can go further. And we get a little bit beyond our belief, but then something happens and it throws them back. Those are the people that you've seen great success, but limited, you know, just maybe one great tournament, and then, or a couple, you know, a moment in time where they're doing really well, and then they get thrown back and aren't doing so well. That's the belief kicked in then. So, I mean, you have to understand that beliefs are sending chemical reactions to your body, to your energy, which sends signals to how your body is supposed to respond. So any belief, any limiting belief you have, the body is accepting that as that's what you want. So it's blocking you. If you don't think you can, like when a player is playing an opponent who they've never beaten, and they are telling themselves, I never beat this person. Okay, that, first of all, that's the message their body's getting. So if they have that belief that they can't beat this person, they're playing, and they're playing great, and they really look like they finally have it, and they're going to finish this, they're going to do it, they'll do something where they blow it. You as a coach can see it as like, wow, they just self-destructed. What happened? That kind of thing. That's that belief taking over that says, you can't do this. You can't beat him. So if you're playing well enough to beat him, that's not in sync with your belief. And the body's job is to create harmony between your beliefs and the body, what the body's doing. And if the body is going beyond the belief, the belief pulls it back and holds you back. And that's where your energy will be stuck. Sad, when we see that. And for me, when I see a player, I wanted to get this in before you said about players that are a little bit older, you or whatever. Roger Federer is changing. He himself has changed the belief about you can only play at that high level, at the highest level, really,
right,
so long. You can't get past, 35 would be, wow, that's really great. He's taken the whole tour along with him. People seen what he's doing, and now they're, yeah, I can keep playing. I mean, even though somebody who's 29 now or 30 think nothing of it. Some people are actually coming into their own at 30. So it's amazing what the power of beliefs. I remember hearing about Roger Bannister and breaking the 4-minute mile back in the 50s, a long time ago. Anyway, it was believed that the physical body could not do that. It could not run a mile under 4 minutes. Well, he trained, he visualized, he broke the record. Within a month, there were other people breaking the record, the 4-minute mile. Now, they didn't train a whole lot better in 1 month to be able to do that. It was definitely, it broke that belief system wide open. And all of a sudden, people who accepted that you could run faster did. They changed their belief. That was, somebody did it, and that's the power. That's another topic. But when we see someone do something that we want to do ourselves, but didn't think was possible, we either take it in and grow and learn from it, or we deny it because it's not in sync with our belief. That's impossible. That didn't really happen. And we don't grow from it then we're still.
And you know what, I think Daniel Nestor and Leander Paez are two prime examples of, and obviously Roger are two prime examples, but Nestor and Paez, I mean, those guys are in their 40s. Even Martina Navratilova, when she stopped,
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah,
winning a Grand Slam mixed doubles title, Nestor and Paez, those guys are, even Ivo Karlovic, I mean, those guys are, they're past the prime, or at least what we thought was the prime age, where a player should be retiring, and they're going, no, I still want to play. I really enjoy the stuff. And, for Roger, when I watch him, 39 years old, and he's still getting to quarters, semis, finals, that is mind-blowing. So,
and listen to your expression, mind-blowing.
Yeah.
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 It's blowing that belief out of the water, for sure.
Yep. So I think he's going to give some guys even more belief about how much, how much more they can stay out there, how much longer they can stay.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, there really are no limits once we open up to that and recognize that our system is meant to be strong and to be healthy and to regenerate, regenerate cells that are healthy and strong. And it's not, it's not like we're getting worse as we get older. The philosophy of how we think of ourselves as we're getting older makes a huge difference. and you can, I mean, you can just see it in people. You could tell what their philosophy is
Well, that's
by
even like
how.
with Serena and Venus. I mean, you know, I knew about 2 years ago. I said, okay, Venus is ready to be about done, and she's still going. I mean, I think what they've done is absolutely amazing. Um,
Now, Serena's an interesting, for me, an interesting study. I don't know Serena personally, so it's just from watching and observing and studying her. But her going, you know, for this 24th, is it Grand Slam,
so
to break
yeah,
the
yeah,
record,
great Margaret Court.
and having been stuck in going for it, is definitely some mindset beliefs, some things going on there that are holding her back,
Mm,
that um, I would love to help her with, because when I see what's happening, and then, you know, some other things that she has a mindset also of uh, something that I teach about energy traps. One of her energy traps is called martyrdom, which is the fear of being a victim. And we can get into that in another session. But what it does is when things go wrong, if you have that energy trap and you get trapped in it, you feel like everything goes against me. I'm doing great, and then all of a sudden, something happens and it doesn't work out for me. And
right.
that is enough to block your energy. But
Mm,
that's a whole other subject to talk about, which is also really exciting. So what we're doing is we're getting at different pieces of who we are and how our energy works. And the more questions you have, or the more feedback we get, the easier it is for us to get into what people are really concerned about or thinking about.
right, right. Well, I would encourage, you know, all of our viewers out there, you know, to ask as many questions as they would like to. So if they have questions for you, they can feel free, you know, to I'm into you on LinkedIn and on Facebook, maybe on Instagram as well. You're on Instagram too. Nice job. Um, and if they have, you know, if they can't figure out how to get it, they can always shoot me a question. I can get it to you. Or, um,
Yeah, thanks.
but as usual, you know, Linda, you know, where can they get in touch with you at?
Okay, our website is yourmentalcoach.com, and that probably is the best place to get a
Awesome.
hold of us. All right.
Well, Linda, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And so, again, for our viewers, thank you guys for listening. And we hope that you guys will be joining us, you know, really soon. Linda and I are going to be, again, talking about, you know, more energy. Well, I'm not talking, she's talking, and she's teaching me as well. So, you guys join us again for another great segment. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.